Now this is why you should not marry your cousin. In a village in Turkey, there is a family that walks on all fours. Hidden from the world, discovered by only a handful of scientists, this family have never been able to stand upright. Experts have been baffled by this. The family displays an almost animal-like state. But why? Well, the parents are first cousins and have 18 children. Because of this, the kids were born with an extremely rare disorder that affects their sense of balance. Sadly, the children are treated like social outcasts. They're even bullied and beaten up by the local kids.
Here are the top 5 most disrespectful predators in nature, because sometimes it's not about a meal, it's about sending a message. Number 5 is the jaguar. Their whole game plan revolves around factory resetting their prey by tooth punching their skull. Pound for pound strongest bite of any cat turn a lizard into luncheon. They'll put a caiman out of order. That's a reptile dysfunction. It's the fact they go into the water to turn an alligator understudy into a belt. 4 is the falcon. You want to see why? You want to see it again? Imagine a 240-mile-per-hour avian assault to the back of the nugget. And with weak claws for a bird of prey, falcons ball up their feet before impact. So yeah, they can literally falcon punch your ticket to the cloud cookout. 3 hyenas. No particular reason. 2 are golden eagles, because what do you mean you yeet goats off cliffs? Where did that thought process come from? Oh, you said you want to be like Mike? You want to fly? I got you, first class. And then you go subject them to this NPC ad death, gave him time to do nothing but reflect. Number 1 needs no explanation, but you're still gonna get it. Orcas are liable to world stars slap a stingray, and like falcons, they're not above weaponizing physics. You want to see how fast a SEAL can join the Air Force? Follow a desaturated psychopath long enough. And let it be known, they don't have to be in their element to emancipate you from the population. Some might say too smart for their own good. I disagree. You'll find they're doing quite swimmingly.
A Barbie left on the grave of this murdered child might be used to solve her cold case. 6-year-old Rosie Tapia was abducted from her bedroom on August 13th, 1995. Her mother had gotten home at 3 a.m. and checked on Rosie in the bedroom that she shared with her siblings. They were all sleeping soundly with the window open, and her mother went to close the window but didn't lock it because the noise would wake the children. Literally just 2 hours later, her mom woke up and got a feeling that she needed to check on her children. Rosie was gone, and her body was later found floating in the nearby canal. Police determined that the screen had been pried off from the outside, and being so low to the ground, an intruder could easily get in. And unfortunately, any DNA on her body was contaminated by the canal water. And after Rosie was buried, the family found a single Barbie doll sitting on her grave. And police are hoping that DNA from the doll could be used to solve the case. Advances in DNA technology give hope that one day Rosie's case can be solved, and over 60 people have been swabbed, but no one's been arrested. There are multiple suspects in this case, including a man that was seen walking with wet jeans on the morning of Rosie's death, and this man in the hat and sunglasses that carried Rosie back to her apartment after she hurt herself on the playground the day before she died. I do a deep dive into possible suspects and theories on the murder of Rosie Tapia on my YouTube channel, Celestial Sylvia.
Things humans were never meant to see. Okay, firstly, we've all seen alligators poke their head out of water, and it's pretty terrifying when they do this. However, this is what their body looks like underneath the water. And this honestly makes alligators seem a lot less scary. This is what water looks like on fire. How is this even possible? Okay, next, in World War II, the US made inflatable tanks that were used as decoys in the war. This is genius. We were not meant to see this. This man threw boiling water off his balcony, and it instantly turned to snow. And this is a super rare sheepfish. It's a snail that has the head of a sheep and the body of a plant.
Do you ever see a picture that just makes your stomach drop? This is a still from an alert that a woman named Alexis Randall got on her phone. It's from a security camera that was set up in her living room, but she's looking at this and she's thinking the same thing you are. She's like, what's wrong with the picture here? Why did the motion detector go off? But then look a bit closer, specifically at the bathroom door. This man who was staring at the camera from the doorway. She spots this picture and she immediately panics and calls the police, but by the time they get there, this guy is gone. What really freaked her out even more is that when police got there, they found evidence that the bathroom window had been tampered with. Further security footage would show that the man had crawled through the bathroom window the night before and was hiding in the hallway bathroom all through the night, even while she was in the house. And if you guys are loving Creep Time, make sure to go follow on Insta.
really weird fun facts that you might find pretty damn interesting. Number 1, banging your head against a wall for an hour burns 150 calories. Number 2, approximately 40,000 Americans are injured by toilets each year. Number 3, there's a higher chance of you being elected President of the United States than winning the lottery. Number 4, an average of 100 people choke to death on ballpoint pens each year. Number 5, it is harder to be an employee at Walmart than a student at Harvard, because Walmart has a lower acceptance rate. Number 6, human birth control pills work on gorillas. Number 7, there are 2 million millionaires in the United States. I am not one of them. And number 8, like fingerprints, every tongue print is different from person to person.
How rare is your body? Let's find out. About 28% of people have a dark limbal ring, which is this dark ring around the outside of your eye, and as you age, you're more likely to have one. Only about 5% of people have these back dimples, and these are more common in females than they are in males. Only about 4% of people have something called a talon's cusp, and you can see it right here on the back of the tooth. It's almost like a little talon or fang, and they're usually benign, and they're more common in males than females. Only about 33% of people are left eye dominant, and yes, you actually have a dominant eye. And if you want to test which eye you are dominant in, put your hands in a little triangle, put them out and center an object in it, and then close your left eye, and if the object stays centered, you're right eye dominant, and if it's the opposite, then you're left eye dominant.
Yo, what's up? These are fun facts about women that are actually pretty crazy. Part 5. Taller women are more likely to have cancer, whereas shorter women are more likely to have smaller babies. I don't think that's a fair trade, but it's not my doings. In Greece, throwing an apple at a woman was considered a marriage proposal. Now, if anyone did that in America, and they threw an apple at the woman they were trying to propose to, she would definitely walk up to him and calmly go, "Yo, why'd you throw that apple at me? That ain't cool. Now I'm gonna have to beat you, bruh." 80% of women will ask questions that they already know the answer to, and the reason being is they're not trying to interrogate us, they're just trying to see if we're listening and if we actually care about what they're saying. So just pay attention, guys. A lot of women lose 2 to 3 hours of sleep every night due to overthinking, anxiety, worry, whatever that may look like. And I'm not saying guys don't do this too, but women are linked to having less serotonin, which helps them go to sleep. So women, if you're still up, get on the Xbox, play some COD, and smack some noobs for us.
This person's body is just filled with parasites and parasite eggs all over the place. Those very white spots you see, those are all eggs. Now, how did this person get this way? They got this way by eating undercooked pork for 10 years. And not just undercooked, like undercooked and raw. This can also happen from like undercooked bacon and stuff like that. That's why you really gotta fry it up. The condition this person has is called trichinosis. It comes from the trichinella parasite. And honestly, I'm not even sure if you would survive this. I would assume it would eat your body literally from the inside out. When the infection is extensive and heavy like this, people have trouble regulating their heartbeat, breathing, and even moving. Which makes sense because your body is literally being eaten. All the nerves, everything. However, it is good news. The estimated death rate for this is like 0.2%. But also, I'm not sure how extensive a lot of those cases are. I'm sure they're not as extreme as this case right here. So that's your scary fact of the day. Don't eat undercooked meat. And this isn't just pork. Usually undercooked meats in general can give you this. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. And as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
5 Chinese zodiac signs that will be rich in 2024. Rats have a good chance of winning the lottery or gaining from successful investment. Monkeys will earn large amounts of money and be able to fulfill their biggest desires. Rabbits will join projects that put a lot of money in their pockets from as early as the first few days. Dragons will attract wealth like a magnet. Starting February 10th, money will pour in from everywhere, and dragons will be able to afford whatever they want. Snakes will be rewarded by their bosses for their efforts and brilliant ideas. They'll receive a substantial raise or bonus, causing their income to increase greatly.
Yeah, funny thing about that. The sound of the lion in the MGM logo was actually the roar of a tiger. And it's because tigers were seen to have a louder, more intimidating roar, where lions had more of an aggressive, low-frequency cough. I'm not even kidding. YouTube it. YouTube lion versus tiger roar. A lion will make you defecate bricks, but a tiger will make you your soul. You know the majestic shrieking call of the bald eagle in the beginning of literally every Western movie? Well, it was never a bald eagle making that sound. That famous cry was actually a red-tailed hawk. It's because the symbol of America just sounds like a seagull with laryngitis. Go ahead, YouTube it. I'm not going anywhere. The bald eagle takes credit for something that was never his in the first place. That is the bird we put on our flag. Some jokes just write themselves. Remember the dolphin sound from SpongeBob? Well, you were lied to, because it was never a dolphin. It was really a sped-up edited call of this Australian bird called a kookaburra, or however you pronounce it. Oh, you didn't hear it? Also, if you're old enough to remember this show, first of all, God bless you. And second, the dolphin call in this show was also a modified kookaburra. Okay, one more. Mufasa's roar was actually made by using a combination of a tiger, an F-16 fighter jet, and a really pissed off grizzly bear. It's called Lion King for a reason.
What the loudest bird on earth sounds like.
That wasn't edited, by the way. They actually do sound like they could legitimately trigger a veteran. That is a white bellbird, and they're considered the loudest bird in the world, peaking at 125 decibels, and since that number probably doesn't mean anything to you, a jackhammer is 130, and a jet engine is about 140. Now, do you ever wonder what animals are trying to say when they scream like this? Well, don't. I'll tell you. He's horny. The male bellbird's game is literally screaming into the face of a female. And I'm guessing they're into it because it seems to work for them. And you know what else does? That weird hanging thing there? Yeah, that's called a waddle with 2 T's. And scientists believe that's how males flex on females. So the lower it hangs, the more he slangs. The more you know.
Mum, can you just pass my drink that's on the table, please? Thanks.
The death of the Cranberries' lead singer Dolores O'Riordan still doesn't sit well with me. Dolores was the lead singer for the band The Cranberries, an Irish rock band. You might know the band from some of their biggest hits like Zombie or Dreams. The Cranberries were a massively successful band, and Dolores was actually one of the richest women in all of Ireland, with a reported net worth of over $66 million. In January of 2018, Dolores traveled from New York City, where she lived at the time, to London. She was traveling there to work with the producer on her side project and discuss a new Cranberries album. When she arrived, she checked in at this Hilton hotel in London, and this is eventually where she would die later that night. At around 2 a.m. on January 15, 2018, Dolores placed a phone call to her mother from inside her hotel room. Later that morning, she was found unresponsive in her bathroom and was pronounced dead at 9:16 a.m. The day after her death, a tabloid newspaper released an article that claimed that they had found fentanyl in her room. This article also falsely stated that London authorities suspected that she took her own life and that this overdose was on purpose. In reality, there was no fentanyl in her bathroom, but the circumstances surrounding her death are even stranger. It took months for her official cause of death to be released, but this is officially what happened. Apparently, her death was ruled an accidental drowning in her bathtub, following sedation by alcohol intoxication. So basically, they said that she got so drunk that she fell asleep in her bathtub and drowned. Toxicology tests done post-mortem showed that Dolores had some levels of pharmaceutical drugs in her system at the time of her death, but these were drugs that she was prescribed and there was nothing out of the ordinary. She did have a very high blood alcohol level though. According to authorities, there's no foul play suspected, and they don't even suspect that she tried to end her own life. This was just a tragic accident. If you're enjoying this series about bizarre celebrity deaths, be sure to give me a follow and let me know who you'd like me to cover next.
So you may have seen this image floating around the internet today, because this image, which was recently released, was taken before Emma Brown, featured below, took a gun and turned it on her father and then herself. The photo is from last year in September, and the plan was part of a murder plot that her and another 12-year-old girl came up with. It was later discovered that Emma's plan was to kill her family and her pets and then run away with a friend. And after she shot her father in the abdomen, she was running towards the driveway when it's believed that she panicked and turned the gun on herself. This all happened in Texas, and now authorities believe that she was headed towards the driveway so she could grab her car, drive about 230 miles to her friend, and then the both of them were going to drive to Georgia together. It's also now believed that Emma didn't come up with this plan herself. It was actually planned by the friend, but they're not releasing the friend's name, and it's not clear how Emma and her met. It's a little implied that cops are blaming social media for this. They issued a statement that basically said now is a good time to make sure you know who your kids' friends are, especially if they're meeting people off the internet, because you don't ever really know what they're talking about. So I'm obsessed with the dark side of Disney. And did you know there's a horrible period of accidents at Disneyland that doesn't really get talked about a lot? It's been referred to as the Disney Dark Ages. It was from 1997 to 2003 when this guy, Paul Pressler, was the president of Disneyland. Paul basically decided they were no longer going to do scheduled maintenance on rides. They were only going to fix rides when they were broken. Did it save money? Sure, but this resulted in some of the worst accidents the park had ever seen. One of the worst being that of Brandon Zucker. In 2001, Brandon Zucker was on the Roger Rabbit ride, which was already having maintenance issues. An employee put Brandon on the wrong side of the car, and when he put the lap band down, it didn't close all the way. So at one point in the ride, Brandon tumbled out of his seat and was hit by an oncoming car. The car pinned him and dragged him down the track before anyone could do anything. Also, at the time, Disney employees were not allowed to call 911. They had to call park emergency services, who then called 911, so it took a while for anyone to come get Brandon. He did survive the accident, but he had brain damage so bad he was nonverbal and lost a lot of motor skills for the rest of his life. And eventually he passed away at 13 years old.
Watching you sit there, smile, and laugh, and shake your head like this was no big deal, I'm very tempted to just say, I'm not going to accept this sentence agreement. We'll go to trial, and if you're convicted of felony murder, you'll go to prison for the rest of your life. That means you'll die there.
Your why will never be better than his life. Your want will never trump my son's death. You get to live. You get to wake up every day. Your actions have led you to a prison cell.
I just want to tell y'all, I'll be home soon, or I'll be Keon. I love my family.
That's all you got to say.
Did you know Jack the Ripper's identity might have been revealed? The Ripper terrorized Whitechapel, a district in London, England, in 1888, responsible for the deaths of 5 women. Sarah Bax Horton, a relative of one of the original police investigators, alleges that Jack was a cigar maker by the name of Chaim Hyams. Horton's claim is based on Hyams' medical records, as he suffered from a peculiar gait as a consequence of his alcoholism and epilepsy. This peculiar style of movement, a declining mental condition, and violent criminal history paint a potential solution to the long unsolved mystery. Additional evidence includes that Hyams also lived in Whitechapel, and as a cigar maker would have had many knives at his disposal, which some have theorized was the primary weapon of Jack the Ripper. Coincidence or mystery solved? Let us know in the comments.
This is why you have to be careful who you let into your Halloween parties. So this is a photo of who police believed was a guest at a Halloween party in Rochester, New York in the 1940s. The party was being thrown by Jack and Amelia Layton, and they actually noticed that this guest was outside of the party watching the guests through a window. The report claims that Amelia believed the guest was her friend Jan, who tended to go above and beyond for Halloween, creating very scary costumes. So she let this person in believing it was her friend Jan. But then 20 minutes later, Jan shows up, and that guest could not be found anywhere. So Amelia starts running around the party asking everyone if they knew who that guest was, and no one had recognized that person. So she goes into her daughter's room, who was playing while the party was happening. And the police report states that the only thing there left of Amelia's daughter was a bloody shoe. 4 other reports of this guest being at parties that night were called into police, and all of them resulted in missing children's cases. The identity of this person has never been found, and none of the kids have been found either. So I always thought no one ever dies at Disney. Like, even if something horrible happens, they get the person off the park so they can always say that no one's ever died there. But then I found out not only is that not true, but a law firm has compiled all of the incidents. I'm going to share a few of them with you, but if you're interested in stories like this, make sure you follow the podcast, because tonight's episode's just going to be these stories. So 2 of the park's worst accidents have both happened on the Matterhorn ride. One of them being a woman named Dolly, who in 1984 fell off of one of the back of the sleds onto the rails. At the time, these gondolas used to go into the rides, and so there was actually a family that watched her fall off onto the track. And so the family also saw as there was another car racing towards Dolly. The dad actually screamed at his daughters to cover their eyes, which was for the best because Dolly got hit hard. She got hit so hard that when EMTs arrived on the scene and were going up into the ride, there were park attendants coming down telling them not to look. And so finally, when someone was looking at the car she was in, they noticed that her seatbelt was unbuckled. But it's never been confirmed if she unbuckled her seatbelt herself or if an attendant didn't check her seatbelt well enough and it was never buckled in the first place.
There's a horrific murder case that's happening right now out of Arizona that's still unsolved. Let's talk about what happened to Mercedes Vega. On April 16th of this year, Mercedes was abducted from the parking garage of her Tempe, Arizona apartment and brutally killed. That night, security footage shows her walking into her apartment's parking garage a little after 9 p.m. She was on her way to meet her friends and have a fun night at Dave & Buster's, but in this footage, she had no idea what was about to happen to her. Sometime before making it to her car, she was attacked and taken by at least 2 people, and the details that follow are still a mystery. A little after 1 a.m. the next morning, the Department of Public Safety was called in to investigate a car that was on fire along the side of Interstate 10 in Tonopah. Upon arriving to the scene, they found Mercedes' burned body in the back seat, and she was deceased. In the last few hours of her life, she was tortured, and according to the medical examiner, she had been shot in the arm, had blunt force trauma to her head, and had traces of bleach in her throat. But all of this did not kill her. She ultimately died from smoke inhalation while being burned alive in that car. Investigators also found gloves and bleach in the front seat and lighter fluid in the back, but there are still a ton of questions that remain in this case, and nothing about this makes any sense. The car that Mercedes was found in was not her car. Her car, which was a 2019 Dodge Charger, was found abandoned near Mill Avenue in Tempe. She was not burned in her own vehicle, and so far, investigators still don't know who the car she was found in belongs to. One of the big questions in this case is how did her car get from her apartment to where it was found? And who drove the other car to Tonopah? Mercedes' parents believe that this was a targeted attack and that death wasn't the ultimate goal, but that Mercedes fought back, which resulted in her death. Her parents mentioned that she danced at a club 2 nights a week, and many question if her death could possibly be connected back to someone she met while at work. It's now been 7 months, and Mercedes' murder is still unsolved. Whoever committed this vicious attack is still out there. Right now, there is a silent witness award of up to $2,000 for information leading to an arrest. But if you'd like to donate to up that reward or to report a tip, please contact the number on the screen. For more information on this case and to show your support, please follow this account that was created for Mercedes that's run by her family. She and her family deserve justice.